If you could only pick 10 eyeshadow palettes to keep for the rest of your life, which ones would you pick? Let me know in the comments, I'm curious to know. Here's my top 10 and I'm gonna tell you exactly why. If I could only keep one eyeshadow palette, this would definitely be it. This is my absolutely favorite eyeshadow palette of all times. This is the Danessa Myricks Lightwork palette. This is the number 7. And this is the gorgeous eyeshadow palettes Danessa Myricks released at the end of last year, like around Christmas time. And I love this eyeshadow palette. I know this is an expensive eyeshadow palette, but it has everything that I like over here. I love this palette because it does come with great matte shades, like perfect for everyday. There's this lighter shade, this shade that works great as a transition shade. There's this beautiful warm shade over here. Then it goes to this gray shade that you don't find often in other eyeshadow palettes. A beautiful black eyeshadow over here too. So the matte shades are great. I think if she ever come up with a whole eyeshadow palette that's all matte shades, I think a lot of people would like that too. I mean, she's known for her shimmery shades and the different texture, and I know the fans of the brands love that, but maybe if she comes out like at the end of the year, one palette that's all shimmery and then another one that is matte shades, I'm pretty sure she would have like no customers too, because her mattes are fabulous too. And then her shimmer shades, I don't need to say, they are wonderful too. I love this palette because it does come with the different finishes. It has like more thinner shimmery shades like this one, and then this one that's almost like a foil shade too. And I love these formulas for the shimmers, for the matte shades. I use those more often, I think, and then those, the blue shades, I don't use as often, but I like to have them here as an option too. And I love the colors, like for the colorful shades that you see over here, you have like green, emerald green, this pink purplish shade, the blue shades, there's this golden shade. So it's almost like jewel tones you can find in this palette. The packaging, it's wonderful because you can use like this, or it's magnetic, so you can actually separate this palette in 3 little pieces, stack them together. The mirror in this palette works as a lid, so you can use as a big palette like this, or you can condensate and travel with. This palette is just perfect. That's why it needs to be here. If I could only pick one, this would be the one. And all the other choices, the other palettes that I picked, think about why I like this palette so much. There's matte shades, there's shimmer shades, there are the jewel tone shades that I like, and you can make like a pretty everyday look if you use just the matte shades in this palette. But if you use the shimmer, the different textures, you can create really creative looks really with this palette. That's why I like it so much. So thinking about that and thinking about the matte shades, I decided to go with the 2 Makeup by Mario palettes after that. I have over here the Makeup by Mario Master Shades, and this is the original one. This one has mostly warm tones in this palette, and this is like a great matte that you can really use every day if you want, like to create shadows and to contour your eyes. You can use this palette on its own, and it has so many different depths over here that you can create a soft look, a look for the night as well. I chose this palette for this top 10. Think about the variety that I have over here, and to pair with that, I also got the Makeup by Mario Neutrals eyeshadow palette. I actually use this one more. It has neutral tones and some cool tones too. Some shades here are great for me as transition shades too. And the reason why I chose these palettes together is because when I have a lot of variety over here, I feel like even makeup artists use those 2 palettes together often because you can create so many looks with it. This could be the only matte shades you carry with you. When I was deciding between those 2, I could, if my goal was to condensate and have a more minimalist collection, I could have picked a palette that has both warm tones and neutral tones, like Patrick Ta, I think the number 3 for him has both. But with those 2 palettes, I feel like I have more variety of shades. Instead of having 6 warm, 6 cool tones, I have 12 for each one of them. And in each of the palettes, like this first one was created based on skin tones, so you have a lot of depth variety too. And this palette at first, I wasn't the biggest fan of the formula because it's a little bit more of a dry formula, but I learned how to use them and now I really enjoy using them because you can create a soft look with it, or you can pack more pigment, pack more eyeshadow, and you get a stronger look. So that's why I decided to pick those two. It's kind of like expanding from the mattes on this palette to more options. With the Makeup by Mario, I have all the matte shades that I need. I decided to pick a palette that has mostly shimmery shades, which I chose this Pat McGrath Gilded Nirvana palette. This palette is absolutely stunning. It comes with 12 shimmery shades, and the shimmers are more on the discreet side, if you will. I mean, they are shimmery, you can see the color. This one is so beautiful. And there are a lot of beautiful shades over here. You don't get a lot of the variety of textures that Danessa has on hers, but you have a lot of variety over here in shades. The only matte shade is this rosy shade over here, but the other ones are all shimmery, so you can use Makeup by Mario as your matte base and then top it off with this one. I love it. Has the pink shades, it has this different greenish shade. Some of them are like dual color. You have the purple shade. There are beautiful shades over here. What this palette doesn't have that I looked for in another one, it's some jewel tones that I usually am drawn to. Like, you don't find a silver shade over here. There is this green shade, but you don't find an emerald green shade. There's a blue, but it's not like a royal blue. Those shades that Danessa had in her palette that I don't find in this one. That's why I decided also to pick my next palette. This is the Aora Mexico Mire Me palette. I have a whole video on this palette already. I'm gonna link in the card over here. But if you look at this palette that is so beautiful and unique, you also can find so many beautiful vibrant colors and those jewel tones over here too. You have a purple shade, a royal blue, the emerald green that I mentioned. There's a silver, there's like a yellowish golden shade. There's a black shade that isn't as strong as Danessa. It's almost like a chalk grayish color when you apply, and you can see my other video. There's a whiter shade that's great for the inner corner, and a pink and an orange. So this gives a lot of creativity. Some of the shades are shimmery, some of them are matte, some of them are really pigmented like the silver shade, but I think combine this makes a really nice collection too, and kind of expands from the Danessa shades as well. From that, I was trying to think about eyeshadow palettes that are beautiful on their own, that I could use, not combining them, but if I had a trip, if I could pick only one shade, only one eyeshadow palette besides Danessa, that I could create a whole look with it, that had matte shades, shimmery shades, and have different vibes. That's how I pick my next palettes too. One palette that I picked was pretty much because I have been using a lot since I got it, which is the new Natasha Denona 10 palette. Natasha makes one of my favorites formulas for eyeshadow palettes, and I think this palette works really well on its own. I could travel happy with this palette with me. It does come with lighter shades, not a lot of them, but some over here, and then some darker shades. These shades are kind of unique. They have almost like a cream-like formula, and then you get the shimmers from Natasha Denona that are absolutely stunning. Like I said, she makes one of my favorite formulas, and this is like a bronzy but not super warm. It's more of a neutral bronze palette, especially for summer. I think this palette is absolutely gorgeous, so I needed to include because I have been using it all the time, and I think I'll be really happy to travel with this palette. The other one that I was debating if I would put in this group or not, because I have another palette that kind of competes with this but not so much, is the Natasha Denona Need a Nude palette. But I love the shades on this palette so much. This one leans more cool tone, but I think it's so unique because it has like this peach shade, this rose shade, but doesn't look like too Barbie pink, if you will. It has some of the most beautiful shimmer shades. That ones I like the most are in this palette. It has some cool tone shades over here, and there's so many options and different ways to use this palette that the looks don't look the same. That's why I decided to include this one too. I know Natasha kind of posts in the cool tone and one of my Marios does, but it was hard for me not to pick this Viseart palette. I'm gonna add the name over here. This is the Paris Nude Étoilée. I don't know how to speak French, but I'm gonna leave over here so you guys can read. But this palette is not a big palette, it's a super compact palette. And this is a cool tone palette. Some of the shades over here are matte shades on the top row. One of them like actually reads darker my skin than on the palette, but it has these stunning shimmery shades over here. Some of them are like unique that I don't have in the other palettes that I showed you guys earlier. And it has those moody dark shades over here that are really unique too. So I decided to include this palette because it's super easy to travel and the colors are really unique. And Viseart is a brand that I think not a lot of people know about it. And their palette, the quality of it is actually really good. I wanted something that I could like challenge myself and create more colorful, fun, artistic looks from time to time. Either like for a shadow or use kind of as an eyeliner too. And I was looking for something fun with colors different than the ones that I have in the other palettes. So I decided to pick this Cosmic Brushes eyeshadow palette. This is the Lovers palette. This is the newest palette to me. But the colors are just so beautiful in this palette. I have two of the Cosmic Brushes palettes in my house. I have the Starlight Society and these Lover ones. I picked the Lover ones because you can go more neutral if you pick those shades over here, or you can go more colorful and whimsical. There are like pink shades over here, green shades, blue shades, there's a silver, a black. So I think you have a lot of variety with this palette. The mattes are really beautiful, the shimmer shades are stunning too. And I think this palette can take you in so many different directions. The last one, I was debating if I would add this palette or not. But if I were to pick them palettes, I needed to pick some that I actually reach a lot for them over and over. So I decided to pick this Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes, the original palette. I actually got this recently, but I do use this palette a lot. And I added to this top 10 eyeshadow palettes because it's something I use all the time. And I see this palette go in so many different directions. It has great transition shades for me that I feel like make this palette so versatile. I can go in this more peachy shade, I can go in this pink shade, I can go in this more cool tone shade over here. And then it also has, which other of the palettes like the I Need a Nude palette doesn't have, those warmer brown shades, which sometimes I use it a lot too. I think looks good with my hazel eyes. And then it has the wet looking effect shimmer shades too. So it's a palette that I reach all the time, works well on its own, and it's a palette that is easy to use. Like I don't need to think much to create a look. I know I will come up with something that I like when I use this palette, and different combinations, like I said, because I can go from the different transition shades. I can go with the more neutral brown or the warmer brown shade. It works so beautiful. I was debating because I had the I Need a Nude palette, and some people say they are kind of similar, but for me the shimmers are different, are really different. And then you also have the warm brown shades in this palette that this other one doesn't have. So in my head it makes sense. These would be my top 10 eyeshadow palettes. Let me know in the comments which ones would be yours. I'm curious to know what your top 10 would be like. If you want to see videos where I show you how to use these palettes and create different looks, follow along for more. See you next video. Bye!